right, we are in week 6, and week 6 is what I previewed in week 5 to help you feel a little better about the project zero. Is that for each week going forward, we now work on your project zero. And this week, we do a lot. So we're going to find a bootstrap template. I'll talk about that. You're going to copy that template into your repo. We'll talk about that. You're going to do some analysis, then you're going to do some planning, and then you'll use AI as a sidekick to help you understand parts of your template that you may not be used to. Okay, so let me go now into week 6 attendance, because we're going to call this a technical briefing, because what you're going to do this week is going to be several things. Okay, so one thing is you're going to create a new folder in your public repo, right? Which is P0. And this will be important because from here on out, when we're working on your project, you'll be working in this folder. And it's really important that the lowercase rule is followed here, that lowercase p and 0, not O, but 0 for project 0. Okay. And then and let me just show you. So like I'm going to give you in the assignment here where you find a bootstrap template, I'm going to give you sites I recommend you use. Now I'm going to pull up the one ultimately is the template I chose to demonstrate with, right? And in this case, you can demo it live. One of the things we're going to talk about in a minute is like, why are they showing us all these different screens on a laptop, on a tablet, on a phone? It's because this is the idea of responsive design. Now, in this class, you don't learn how to code responsive design. You just will see it in action and you will implement it when you implement your template. Okay, so I'm kind of previewing one of the items we're going to talk about. So in this case, we could just live demo it. Now, all that means, and this is very common to all the sites, and you are definitely going to want to choose a free one here, right? Is the idea actually it will present. Now, notice though, even on the outside, still it actually has all of their branding, but it's good just to see what happens. And one of the things I want you to know that you can do to kind of see, not kind of, but is to see this idea of responsive design is right click, hit inspect. And then what happens is as you drag your window to increase the dev tools or decrease it, you see that page change, and that's what it's responding to, something called the viewport. Okay, and what it does is there's a CSS that is written already by the person that you got the template from that actually coded this specifically, and this actually is what's up here, is that at these different breakpoints. Again, you don't have to code this, you just want to start understanding it. So when you get to 85, which would be logically next, you'll have some introduction here. Is that you then can change your site to see, in this case, how is it responding to these different breakpoints. Okay, so this is the great thing about using DevTools. Okay, so let me come back here so I don't get too far away. Okay, so in this case, once you get it, now let's just show you now. Let's say I've done this before, but I'll just do it again, where you ultimately, because for this first assignment in the week, you're just going to look, and I definitely say spend some time looking at different templates, but there's going to be 2 of them I want you to download, okay, the way I'm about to show, but it's not until you get to the next step that you'll actually place them into your GitHub, into your public repo. So when you're doing this step, you're just downloading them. So let me just show you what that means, right? So if I come over here and I download, now in this case, I am going to do a free download. Don't pay for anything. All the links I've given you is to the free version of these, but you still have to say, okay, I'm going to download this. So notice what happened here is I got that download, okay? So what I can do here is, and this is what you want to make sure you know how to do on your particular file, is because I'm using a Mac, it's going to say show in Finder. Notice how when I roll over, that's what it says, or I can just go in and open it as well. Now, when you're on Windows, this is file manager is the equivalent thing on that. And the difference on the Mac is when I open the file, it unzips its contents. When I'm on Windows, I have to say extract all. And that's why I did also a search just for how to unzip files on Windows in case you have never encountered this. This is something and most students have, but in case you haven't, if you're on Windows, you would right click and say extract all. On the Mac, it's pretty simple. I'll show you again here. I'll come over here. Oh, actually, it's here. I just got away from it. Now I'll do this and I can come back to here and I can just say open the folder. And I'll bring this over. You can see I've already done this a couple times. So there is the zip file I just downloaded. And if I just double click, it'll then take the contents of whatever is in there and it'll unzip it. Okay, and then I'm going to start looking at the folders. So again, notice how I'm doing this for me in my downloads, which is kind of a natural place, but you could also create a folder somewhere on your system just for these, because until you get to the next step, you're not going to want to place these in your particular repo for that folder that you're going to end up creating. Okay, so and this is the other thing to know, is because each of us are choosing a different template. Okay, because that's part of what you're going to do is here, when you select these, each of you, if I see two students doing the same one, so before you post yours, you're going to want to look in here and see which one students have taken. But I can just tell you there's a bunch to choose from, so you don't have anything to worry about, but you just want to make sure you don't. So then you'll copy that. So I'm going to actually show you ultimately in my VS Code because I put it here. Okay, here's where I place, and I'm actually recording this after I've recorded all the video for this week. I've already done the steps. I'm just previewing what you're going to end up doing because I actually have you copy this, what I call bit by bit. Only do one part. Okay, so only do so this is like where I say if you created that folder, you're going to move over just the index.html. Now, this is where, because all of us have a different template, that this is going to be unique to your specific situation. Okay, but for me, this in my public demo pub is what my P0 look like. But the other thing I recommend students do here is actually open the folder specific to that, only that folder in their repo. And let me show you right here. Okay. So I'm going to go to public. I'm going to open P0. Now, why am I doing this? Because this is more clean. So look at all the stuff. Even before I do it here, it can get kind of confusing. And because you're going to be bringing files into here, and that will be important when you drag in. Now, I'm not going to do it here, but in the video I talk about, because I ended up dragging this in and it flashed a message that says, hey, do you want to copy? Or do you want to, do you just want to move? Do you want to actually copy them in here? Because you could change your what we call workspace to just include them, and that's not what you want to do because you want to have them here. Okay, so again, you're just getting a little bit of a preview of stuff that you're going to need to do. I've talked about unzipping already. There's folders inside of a folder, sometimes can confuse a little bit. Now, this is where your dev tools. Now, I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and start live server. This is my template once I put it on my system. And again, don't do this until you get to that step. But this is the other place your dev tools can really help you. Because as you navigate through, and I'm on elements here, that as I move, just roll over, notice how this highlights, right, particular parts of the page. And this helps you understand like how your template has been created. Okay, what HTML, what classes are done here. The other thing is if I pull this out, I can also see that there may be some Bootstrap CSS, but there also might be some custom CSS that was done for my particular template. There was quite a bit of custom CSS that was done. What that means is the person who created this template used Bootstrap to create it, but then applied some custom CSS to that Bootstrap to achieve the design that they wanted, and adding additional stuff on top of that. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So if I go up to the head section, I will notice there's all these links to these other CSS libraries. Okay, and if I go to the bottom, there is some JavaScript. Now it's okay that you don't have any JavaScript experience because your template's going to come with all that built in. What I'm trying to show you here is learning how to just navigate like inside of here to actually see the parts of your page. Like when I look at this, I can see, oh, that's that's where that's created. And then it helps me when I'm looking at the code know where to find things. Okay. So let's go back to attendance, right? So I talked about the X-ray idea. So the other thing is you are going to use Markdown this for this assignment. You're going to use the README file as the result of your analysis. So having some Markdown is really good. So I think I've shared this before, but Markdown cheat sheet is a great thing to go to about how to do headings, how to do bold text, how to do ordered list. Okay, we'll actually end up using not footnote, but task. We will use task for your to-do as well this week. So we're diving into learning more Markdown, and you might wonder, why are we learning Markdown? Markdown is even more popular today than it has been since I started using it, because now for AI, you see a lot of people using Markdown to actually tell AI how they want it to behave. Interesting fact. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. I went over quite a bit of information in the last 11 minutes or so. Okay, so based on this, what's one thing that's still a little fuzzy or that you would like to see demonstrated again, right? Like maybe, oh yeah, one thing I didn't talk about was this is when you open that P0, because that should be a lower P, but whenever you open a folder, specifically within a repo, it'll actually make it an uppercase. Okay, so maybe I did just re-demonstrate that, right? You could ask that. I could totally do that, but also your question, and then you can also, you're going to attempt to answer each other's questions. Like maybe if you know how to tell somebody, hey, if they're a little confused why the uppercase, why the folder has to be lowercase, but then shows up at uppercase when you open that, explain that to them. Yeah, Rio covered that in the video. This is what happens. Okay. So you get 50 points for posting your question, right, based on the video I've covered here, and then 50 points for attempting to respond to somebody, right? So pro tip, use Markdown in your reply. If you mention a folder name, use backticks. Oh, yeah, so that's kind of nice. I don't know. Let's see. Now that I'm looking at this, if I was to come in, I think I don't know if this would be true. So this would be kind of fun to look at. So if I did backticks PO, P0 backticks, and I think if I came here, I don't think, yeah, it wouldn't render. Actually, in Canvas, what I'd have to do here is actually type code. Okay, so when I type code, now this is not really directly related to our work, but in this case, that actually does render as code, and you might think it doesn't look that different. So I might change that. I didn't see that pro temp until just now, right? And when you're replying to somebody else, don't worry if it's not 100% perfect, right? This is about helping each other. You just pre-learned, in a very quick manner what you are going to learn this week. And I didn't even go into any level of really detail. I just gave you an overview. You're going to find a template. You're going to copy that template into your public. You're going to repo once you create a new folder. You're going to do some analysis of it. You're going to plan out your site, and you're going to use AI Sidekick as a sidekick to help you understand pieces of it. Oh, that's one thing I would say, and I think I may have already said this, but remember how I was saying that there are all these other, like in the head, and this is my template. Your template's going to look different, but I'm just giving you something you might see. Like this favicon is something that if you've never seen, actually, if you've ever looked at your tabs and you've seen these little icons, those are favicons. We'll end up, I think next week or the week after, having you create your own a custom favicon for your site. You might wonder, why is Google APIs here, and it's because they use Google Fonts or they use it for something else. I'd have to go look at that one. That's actually part of the analysis. No, actually, here's the Google Fonts. I see Bootstrap here, and there's this AOS. And what I've already found out, that is what is used to make that menu kind of nicely animate like that, right? So then on top of Bootstrap, and this is what is kind of interesting to wrap your head around, is that you have now been introduced to Bootstrap, but now you're gonna take a template. So you might wonder, why do people create all of these free templates? Well, it's because they want you to actually buy some, but they provide some for free just to showcase the work that they've done. People do make money doing this, okay? So that's why they provide them for free, okay? So anyway, lots going on here. I talk about the whole Bootstrap version because we've been introduced to Semver. So you're taking everything we've learned, you're adding new stuff to it, but this is a pivotal week in CIT 82 where we're actually now starting to build out your project zero. Have a great one, and I'll talk to you later.